Hello, hello, Jordan Chariton live. Status Coup. It is Tuesday, December the 26th, 2023, in the United Corporations of America. Hope everybody had a lovely Christmas, Hanukkah, Festivus, whatever is your flavor or belief.
Do
Um,
that again.
Hanukkah?
Yeah.
Hanukkah. My grandma used to do that. Um, Steve, honestly, not that there's nothing going on, but I figured, you know what, end of the year, kind of slower news. I think we obviously there's things going on in Gaza that we've covered, but I wanted something a little lighter, maybe bring some joy to the masses. So about an hour and 20 minutes ago, I said to you, "Hey, let's do a show called the Grumbi Awards, the Grumbi Awards, and we'll have to periodically put this up as more viewers come in." But I just defined what Grumbies is. Uh, well, it's an award after your name, so maybe you should read it.
Yeah, it sounds like a political, corporate, or societal swine that elicit an evolving feeling of grumpiness and rage.
And I think that is pretty accurate for our conversations over the
Yeah.
last couple of years. So we are going to distribute the top 5 Grumbies of the year. These awards might go to entities or ideas. Some of them will go to actual individuals, but each one will go to the top political, corporate, or societal swine exploiting, oppressing, gaslighting, and ravaging the masses. And they are coming out of your brain and that thick mane of hair. So you will be announcing them, and I will be sharing my thoughts on your selections before we give out number 5 of the Grumbies. And Colin, show the thumbnail too of Steve in a suit uh, with each award.
Notice
There is
the
no
hair is similar.
yeah, there is no red carpet. It is a black carpet. Yes, this is the first annual Grumby Awards. It was put together about an hour ago, so maybe next year will be a little bit more bells and whistles. But before we get to that, listen, it is the end of the year, so Status Coup, we're not taking our foot up the gas. This Saturday, noon Eastern, we are doing our end of the year marathon live stream. Steve will be on it at some point too. So noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, December 30th. Join us. We'll be going all day. Well, most of the day. It's Saturday, but whatever, Colin. You could put Sunday. Saturday, December 30th. That would be Saturday, not Sunday. We'll change that. 12 to 4 Eastern time. We will be live. We will have guests. We will be focusing on all the great happenings of 2023, particularly our on the ground marathon, our on the ground reporting from the UAW strike to the devastating disaster in East Palestine to the protests at Cop City, the protests going on right now over Palestine and Israel, everything in between. We've covered quite a lot, way more than any other corporate or independent outlet, frankly. So we're going to be live on Saturday for a few hours to end the year. We're going to be pushing memberships, donations to keep us strong going into 2024. So put it in your calendar, and I'll remind you as we go. And super chats are always welcome. So, Steve, let's start with the number 5 again. These are the top 5 political, corporate, and societal swine of the year.
Can I say one thing before we go into this? Let me just say for the record that the editorial staff of Status Coup rearranged these ever so slightly. So,
i.e. me.
So we'll see how this goes. Let's play it up. Go ahead, keep going, man.
Now, number 5, I don't, Colin, just put up whatever one is number 5. Okay.
Oh.
That's fine. No. We've given it away now. Reverse it. Reverse it. So number 5 should be, there you go. That's fine.
Yes. Yes. So the economic
Economic
terrorists.
The floor is yours.
Absolutely. All right. So our economic terrorists have to include a lot of different groups, a lot of different people. It's too vast to bunch into just one tiny person. It is the entire apparatus, and it starts at the top and it goes to the bottom, but we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. The average person that doesn't understand economics, that has been fed lies their entire life to believe that the country is broke, a country that creates its own currency is broke. And somehow or another, we've got to claw back the gains. We got to claw back the money that the little people got during the pandemic. We've got to raise interest rates, and we've got to go ahead and reduce spending and cut the deficit and cut the debt and all the other lies that we perpetrate, we continue, we add fuel to the fire, we talk about with our friends, we go to work and tell everybody about. We are part of that economic terrorism because we're carrying the water for economic terrorists every time we do it. And then you've got the next layer of liars, and that is the media. We'll start with the alt media first, because there's nothing that they can't get wrong when it comes to economics. They will parrot, they will continue to parrot all the right-wing lies about printing money causes inflation. They'll allow all the evidence of all the inflation that occurred during the pandemic, starting with broken supply chains, starting with observable and documented price gouging, talking about observable and documented restriction of fuel to raise the price of fuel without considering war in Russia and war in Ukraine as a means of keeping the supply down and driving the price up, including OPEC literally fucking our heads up by cutting back the supply, not looking at any of that for the reason why there's inflation, the raising of prices, the raising of petroleum across the globe. No, they talk about printing fucking money in the U.S. This is the level of economic terrorism and stupidity that swarms us and kills us all. Okay. Then the next level from the alt media groups who talk about the petrodollar and all that other bullshit is the real media being the real propaganda for the mainstream. The lies they tell perpetuate every single one of these fucking lies, start to finish, over and over again. Every time you listen to Morning Joe, every time you listen to Fox News, every time you listen to CNN, every single time you listen to Squawk Box or any of these other shithole sites, you listen to the Bitcoiners, every single one of them lies and says the reason we had inflation was because of printing money. They say that they're printing money. They're not fucking printing money. They're spending money into the economy and they're taxing it out of the economy on really, really bad, shitty things. And not we the people, not $2,000 checks, not ending student debt, not literally getting us a Green New Deal, not doing any of the things, not giving us Medicare for all. None of that. It's all for war and for other bullshit that has nothing to do with the people being made whole. So another part of the economic terrorist lie. Then you go up to the next level, and that's the academic lie. The academics in universities, the academics in all their glory, spouting old school monetarist lies that have been debunked and full of shit. Every last one of these people out there afraid that the book they wrote 10 years ago will suddenly stop collecting royalties if they admit they lied. And that includes friends like Richard Wolff, who says that the United States government borrows from corporations. Hello, the government creates its own fucking money, does not borrow from corporations. And then the next level of that is the politicians, the political class that uses their dog and pony show, the fraudulent fake show that they do that we call politics, as they lie and they have these really, really hard-fought discussions about we've got to bring down the debt, we've got to bring down the deficit, this inflation thing, we must raise interest rates way high on the little people so that they can fucking get rid of this horrible inflation that came as a result of printing money. No, it didn't come from printing money, you liars, but you all are part of that process because you're carrying somebody else's water. And you go up to the corporate oligarchs that own the government, the big dark money that owns the government, that goes beyond politics, that picks our presidents, that picks our Congress critters, that decapitates our Congress critters, that literally eliminates progress altogether. Those people out there, they are steadily hoping to God we are stupid enough to go along to get along, while they continue the lie so that they make money hand over fist. And that includes everything that's above them and other dark little places that we're afraid to look at. That whole apparatus, all of the economic terrorists out there that sat there and pumped the taxpayer dollar lie, that talk about tax funding, spending, all the other liars that literally use those tools to keep us from asking for more, that make you feel like Biden's petty, small, fake student debt relief plan, that he could have written an executive order for real and wiped out everyone's. The little pittance that he's done, you'll see screaming head sycophants running around telling everybody to be thankful, eat your peas, enjoy it. Joe Biden did this for you, double plus good. Economic terrorists.
And would this individual be part of that apparatus of economic terrorists?
They're raising prices because they can. They're raising prices because they can.
Yes, he would be.
Prices because they.
That would be Jerome
So that
Powell.
would be Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chair. I don't like to give Elizabeth Warren a lot of credit, but she did have a wowzer with Mr. Powell. She went back and forth with him in some Senate hearing, and she asked him, well, why are all these corporations raising prices even when their prices don't justify, the prices that the corporations pay don't justify what they're charging consumers. And he said,
they're raising prices because they can.
Well, it sounds like that's pretty much everything you just talked about all in one. We live in a fucking economic Hunger Games. It's not a free market. It's not a representative democracy. We have a oligarchy / Congress by aristocracy, and they have given the keys to Congress, the White House, and everybody else to Jamie Dimon, the Waltons, the fast food CEOs, and all the rest to basically make up the rules as they go. So if you're in an unprecedented pandemic, tough shit. Get Cobra.
That's right.
If you're in an
I want to look at.
Go ahead.
Our guy Ken Hicks out here asks a question that I think probably a lot of people would like to know. So I want to speak to this because it fits right into the whole economic terrorist narrative.
Can I just say, when I'm watching award shows, I really feel super when I watch award shows. Almost so super, I want to leave a chat when I watch my favorite award shows, i.e. super chats. Go on.
All right. So our guy Ken Hicks says, isn't buying bonds borrowing to the government? I want you to think about this. The government buys its own bonds. Bonds are not a funding operation. Bonds are a safe place to save existing U.S. dollars. Okay? So all your retirement plans buy U.S. bonds. Many people buy small dink and dunk U.S. bonds. But the government, when it sells bonds to offset an interest rate that it's trying to manage, in other words, they say, hey, we want to keep interest rates at 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever is their target, and they will buy and sell bonds to offset that all day long. But you could literally get rid of bond sales altogether if you set the interest rate to a permanent zero. But nobody would go with that because right now, because we aren't publicly funding pensions, we aren't publicly funding retirement, we are not publicly funding universal basic needs, because we're not funding any of that stuff. It's up to we, the little teeny people, to try and take care of themselves for eternity. And if you made bad decisions, that's too damn bad. You're going to have to die for that. And so because of that kind of economic terrorism, the bond vigilantes run around trying to make you think that they are so necessary to the function of government. Watch how quickly their fucking heads would explode if we went with a permanent zero and eliminated all bond sales and simply directly funded every one of these life-saving programs. Instead of all this lies and hand-wringing about where are we going to find the money, it's a lie. And it's a lie that they've told you ad nauseum. I mean, literally, Japan, as an example, buys almost all of its own bonds. And it's got 100% debt, meaning money spent into the economy, versus GDP, which means the gross domestic product of the entire nation. Okay. So when you think about that, it's like, well, why did they sell those bonds to begin with? Fucking great. It's a good question, isn't it? Why the fuck did they do that? Why didn't they just direct fund? Because they want to maintain the ruse, the illusion, the lie, so that you can run around telling everybody, but the U.S. government is indebted, so it's in debt to China. And they want you to believe that till the cows come home. But what China does, China buys and sells goods into the United States. And it does a whole lot more selling into the United States than it does buying from the United States. So it's got all these pent-up U.S. dollars that it's earned from sales into the U.S., but they don't use dollars in China. So what do they do with these fucking dollars? Well, they exchange them for a currency maybe they want to save in, or they go ahead and buy U.S. bonds, earn a nominal interest rate, and let the money sit there at the Fed to normalize any kind of transactions that they would do. They dump their bond holdings. Guess what? Who gives a fuck? You know, all they're entitled is a balance sheet. That's it. It's keystrokes on a computer. Nothing more than that. So I think that's a really important thing to understand. When the government spends, it doesn't look and say, hey, do we got any of them there tax dollars? Nope. They just spend the money. And then after the fact, they say, well, what do we want the interest rate to be? Okay, we got to sell a certain amount of bonds to offset that. And when you look at what they call sectoral balances, and I don't want to get deep in the weeds here, this has got to be kind of fun. When you think about, you have 3 sectors only, 3. You've got private, that's us, you and I. We got public, that's the federal government. And then we've got rest of world. That means trade, that means offshore, that means whatever, balance of trade. And so in the end, when you look at government spending and the rest of world, you will see what they call a mirror of each other. There'll be a line in the middle. Government spending might be up. Personal savings would be down. Or yeah, because you wouldn't have all the debt. But if government decreases its spending, you'll see a transverse of the other side where the private debt has to go up because we still need money to live. And without the government spending it into the economy, we take on private debt. So this is a really important thing to understand. Us having private debt is a lot different than the U.S. government that literally types into a keyboard the amount of money it wants to spend. You and I, if we typed it in, we'd be called counterfeiters. So the United States government is never going to go broke, can never go broke. It creates its own currency. So keep that in mind. All right, next subject.
Steve.
Yes.
This is an award show, not a Vox.com TED Talk. So you're going to have to refrain from bond talk and all this wonky-nonky bullshit. No, I'm kidding. All right, number 4. And smash that like button. Share this live stream. This list is about to get even better. Number 4 award that on the top 4 Grumbi awards. What is the number 4? The Duopoly Doomers. Wow. Love the alliteration. Came up with it myself. All right. Who are the Duopoly Doomers and why are they the number 4 Grumbi award?
The Duopoly Doomers are the people that have bought hook, line, and sinker into this electoral process. And every single thing they do is Republicans bad, Democrats bad. Republicans bad, Democrats bad. Republicans, we got to impeach Biden. Democrats, we got to impeach Trump. We got to this, we got to, it's the most important election ever, right? And so these folks live and die to suck the oxygen out of the room for any kind of potential, I don't know, change. It's a political revolution. Any of the things that we say we want, they get sucked out. Now is not the time to talk about Medicare for all, don't you know? Mama Bear Pelosi said, now is not the time to worry about ending student debt. We've got a war going on over in Gaza. Now's not the time to worry about, the war in Gaza because we've got an existential climate crisis. Oh, now's not the time to work about an existential climate crisis because what do you want, Trump? And so the duopoly plays this game, and there are dupes that fall into this game, and as a result, take away and suck away all the political air, all the potential for common discourse to literally solve these problems. And when you realize the system was made for that, the duopoly lives and dies on it. Every one of these manufactured crises, all these hand-wringings about, well, the debt ceiling, oh, I don't know, we're going to have to do something really tragic. The Social Security trust fund's going broke. We're going to have to do something tragic. You know, it's always some distractagon, some distraction to keep you from actually focusing on the fact that you and I are being predated upon by capital. You and I are being predated upon by the ruling class that uses this duopoly thinking to keep us from ever functionally saying, hey, guys, I don't know about your parties, but I do know this, that global warming, the rise in temperatures, the CO2 emissions are causing catastrophic change that is absolutely preventable. But we're getting to a tipping point, if we have not already gotten there, where life as we know it could be washed off the face of the earth. We're talking about tidal waves, tsunamis. We're talking about horrible, horrible destruction of coastal regions. We're talking about displacing millions of people, especially when you think about in the Middle East, where you've got folks in India and Pakistan who are mortal enemies. And all of a sudden, climate crisis is pushing people out of arid lands toward where there's good lands. And so what do? There's going to be wars for water. There's going to be wars for all kinds of stuff. But no, we've got to talk about duopoly politics. Trump bad, Biden this, jabba, jabba, jabba. And as that stupidity of these kind of debates go on, and you're told, what did you think the squad could do? Did you think the squad could leverage its power and force a vote? I don't know. Mansions sure seem to be able to. Cinema sure seem to be able to. What the fuck? Every one of these Republicans are able to change the speaker because they didn't like the fact that he negotiated. But no. But Steve, you don't understand. The squad is just a couple progressives. You're asking too much of them. Steve, what is wrong with you? Those folks earned the number 4 spot on this process right here.
And I will add to this award that, you know, at the end of the day, I've been doing this in this iteration on the ground for, what are we, 7, 8, 9, 9, 8 years. So let's just round it to a decade. At a certain point, when it's the same old record spinning over and over and over and over, and what I mean by that, I could literally show you the emails from 2016 and the emails from now, from the Democratic Party, the DNC, the candidates, James Carville, literally copied and pasted same shit. Most important election of our lifetime, saving democracy, the fight to restore something. This is not to say there aren't real threats out there like Trump, this and that. But what it does say is, even if you neutralize that threat of Trump, I think I and the masses are starting to realize you're still left with the threat of the sameness. You're still left with the threat of neoliberalism. You're still left with the threat of climate apocalypse that neoliberalism is helping accelerate. So the whole, it could be worse. Well, it's pretty bad already. So that doesn't really work anymore. I don't want another President Trump. I know you don't want, Steve. But you got to convince the masses why it would be substantially better, or at least help survival.
I want to make people understand, how the hell do you think you're actually voting for them? Look, for real, I'm not even being a smartass. This is just basic civics they teach you. They actually tell you the story and you still believe it, okay? You got electoral politics based on the Electoral College, okay? Before you even get there, to get the nominee, I call this the Oligarch Olympics. I don't even think of this as elections. It's like a fashion show for the popular kids, okay? And what they do is they come out there. I guarantee you, if people were given a choice, no one would have selected Joe Biden. But they weren't given a choice. Joe Biden was pulled out of his wheelchair, given some freaking Ovaltine, walked out like the freaking first captain on Star Trek in his little, dolly, and brought up to the microphone. Okay. We are talking about a corpse and a cop. Nobody liked Kamala. She couldn't even get a vote in her own state. Nobody liked her. They hated her. And they hate her more now. But yet she was trying to, I'm telling you, it's fake. It's not real. There's no way you selected these people. There is no fucking way you selected these people. And when you think about it, out of 350 million people, the same bourgeois trash is trotted out there every couple of years, given the circuit on all the fake it's not fake propaganda, it's propaganda, but it's the party propaganda outlets of CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all of them, the walking arm of these oligarchs. And that's why I call it the Oligarch Olympics. It is not a real free and fair election. So even if you vote, you go, you get your sticker in your forehead, take the selfie, tell everybody how proud you are, do a get out the vote thing on the corner, whatever it is you did, door knock for everybody, donate for everybody, do the whole enchilada. At the end of the day, the super delegates will say, you know what? We just ain't that into your candidate. We just ain't that into Bernie. We're kind of thinking we'd much rather have Hillary Clinton. We're kind of thinking we'd much rather have, who's next in line? Oh yeah, Joe Biden. We're kind of thinking we have, who's next? I'm telling you, you did not select these people. You didn't. And so the idea that you can walk down the street, there's an old saying, I think her name is Emma Goldberg, and I could be wrong on that, but she said, if voting would change anything, they would make it illegal. Okay. I'm telling you right now that you've got to, it sucks because it's going to take a mind. You're going to have to recognize it. This is like one of those things where you catch your spouse cheating on you and you go, shit, if I see this and I say something about it, I can't unsee it and I can't unsay it. So you kind of do some mental gymnastics to pretend that they didn't cheat on you so you can keep going the same path you've been going on. That's what elections are. You know that if we have an existential climate crisis and Joe Biden is underfunding initiatives to start with, we're not even talking about negotiating. We're talking about underfunding them to begin with. And then literally coming up with a Build Back Better and Nancy Pelosi calling it a green dream and all this other shit. I'm telling you right now, it's all fake. And so that's my angle. Right? You could say whatever you want, but the evidence just isn't there. And if they don't like who you select, like I said, you got the oligarchs. And if they don't like it, you've got the Supreme Court to ensure democracy isn't heard. And if the Supreme Court doesn't like it, you have both of these parties in there that can do a coup inside with all these impeachments and so on and so forth. Ultimately, folks, it is a fucking show. It's theater. And it's there because the powers that be would never let you vote away their wealth. They would never let you vote away their power. You got to recognize this or nothing will change. If you continue to carry the doomer duopoly approach to things, you will always get what you get and you will like it every time, which is nothing. You will get nothing and love it. You'll get higher taxes, higher costs of living. You will get anything to discipline you like the good open air slave you are. So
it sounds to me, it's not that you're saying don't vote. What you're saying is stop being deluded that this is the main ball game. That this exactly is the be all end.
I'm saying that at the end of the day, you cast your vote and you go back to brunch. That's what most of the shit libs did, was cast their vote and went back to brunch, checked on their 401k, watched Squawk Box, watched that little bar that goes across to tell about all the stocks they've invested in. That's bourgeois living, and that ain't reality for most of us. That right there, my friends, is the divide. The haves and the have-nots. Have you ever seen the movie Elysium? It's a movie, but it's more real than I think what we think our elections are. That divide is real. And I'm telling you right now, they have it's almost like a raffle to see which young black kid can get into the NBA and give him millions. Okay, we got a few black people in the oligarchy now, so shut up, you guys. Okay, we got a few gay people in the oligarchy now, shut up, you guys. Okay, we got a few women in the oligarchy, shut up, you guys. And that right there is how they keep us thinking, oh, it could be me someday. I could win the capitalist Olympics. So I'm just an embarrassed millionaire waiting to happen. And it just ain't so. It just ain't so.
For those that came late, let's make sure you know the definition of a Grumbi. A Grumbi is a political, corporate, or societal swine that elicits an evolving feeling of grumpiness and rage. So first, Mr. Grumbine is grumpy, and it evolves over time to full-on rage. And these are the top 5 Grumbies of the year. Now, number 3 Grumbi award goes to Capitalist Pigs. Now, what is the difference between Capitalist Pigs, number 3, and Duopoly Doomers? Tell us.
So the Duopoly Doomers feed from the trough of capitalist pigs. They literally carry the people below the Duopoly Doomers are like Steven in the movie Django Unchained. They're like holding Mr. Candy. They're the slave that takes care of the house. They're the slave that literally sits there and scowls at all the other people, okay? And that's what they do. They protect the power. They are protectors. So the Duopoly Doomers are down here. The capitalist pigs, the owner class, are up there, and they're the ones that are dictating and pulling the strings of the political theater that we think we've got power in just by casting a vote, baby. Just by casting a vote, and you guarantee the rich just say, take my money. It's all good. But there are only a few of them, and it's not even about their money. It's about their power. Do you understand? Our ability to have agency,
Greed,
our ability,
for lack of a better word, is good. Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
there you go.
But I have to say we're capitalist, and that's just the way it is. But I have to say we're capitalist, and that's just the way it is.
Not a joke. Not
Fuck
a joke.
you very much.
Not a joke.
Go on.
Yes. All the shitheads. And I think Elizabeth Warren's on video somewhere saying, I'm a capitalist to my bones. So bottom line here is that we are surrounded by bootlickers, by people that think that the end of history has come. That is the story of capitalism, that we are at the end of history. There's no higher calling than capitalism to them. Okay. And so with that in mind, the idea here that there are people here that are gatekeepers below. I'm going to use something in the spirit of Gaza and also in the spirit of thinking about the horrible nature of the Holocaust and go to Schindler's List. There were people that literally had to point at people who was going to be shot next. What a horrible place to be. I cannot imagine that. But there were people that played that gate between the people that were going to get shot and the power that said, okay, well, he said to shoot him. And that right there, my friends, is what the duopoly actually does, because they say, hey, I know there's poor people that are going to literally be frozen to death tonight and die. But you know what? It's the best we got. What are you going to do? What do you want, Trump? And so they will allow people to die, and they'd be like, nothing I can do about it. What do you want me to do about it, Grumbine? I just got to go to the voting booth and vote blue no matter who. Vote for Pedro. Vote for Summer, right? And they just run through this thing, and they think that they have participated in the great, great, great democracy. And in reality, these capitalist pigs at the top, they're the puppeteers. And they have their people in government that do their bidding for them. And we, duped beyond words, run around and read the paper. Very serious people read the paper as we learn about all the tragedy of the other party, as we learn about all the tragedy of this thing that the capitalists, the colonizers have done. And it's all colonizer, managing and creating acceptance of these norms, creating like, hey, you see this really nice looking person dressed in a suit. We talked about this last time. The tone police, they bring up some suit that comes and says, these people are animals. You must understand that we're here to protect civilized society. And we're like, yeah, oh my goodness, they're so good. They're so good. Yeah. And you see the View people like this. You see them, oh yeah, they're just animals. Think about all the people that raged because Black Lives Matter snatched a microphone out of Hillary Clinton's hand, snatched a microphone out of Bernie Sanders' hand. Well, that's all programming from up top. That's programming. And it keeps going and going and going. So these capitalist pigs suck up all the money. and which we could offset if we had control of the government. We could fix that, right? But we don't. If we did, it would be fixed, but we don't. So there's your proof. We're creating billionaires
are these capitalist pigs? Are these capitalist pigs the one that Biden is sending very harshly worded letters to, asking them to lower the prices of things?
Always, yes.
Okay.
Hey, let me talk to the boss. I'm going to say a really stern word. Hey, the people have spoken, and they'd like you to not do that no mo. Not going to listen? Okay. I gave him a sternly wording letter. You better believe it.
If I look it up, I believe other countries that their governments aren't actually purchased by the capitalist pigs actually have laws and regulations against the capitalist pigs, rigging prices, creating monopolies, etc.
Yep. Well, just think about it like this. The United States, with its empire and its military, have been exporting this mindset to other governments. You see it happening in the UK right now. They're dismantling the NHS as they're dismantling public services as a whole. You see it happening in Australia, where the same exact logics are being placed on them as well. You see it all throughout the Eurozone, Germany reigning supreme over all other countries in there, while being a toady for the US. You see it everywhere, except, let me just say this, except you see different forms happening in China where they're actually prioritizing cooperation. They're not perfect. There's always some asshole in the back of the room going, but what about the Uyghurs? What about the this? What about the that? Hey, man, I'm not here simping for anybody, okay? But the fact of the matter is that we don't. I mean, think about how many people didn't have a clue about Ukraine, didn't have a clue about the IMF's role in it, didn't have a clue about the NATO charge that we're supposed to disband NATO half a century ago or more. And yet they're sitting there with their Ukraine flags flying high. They don't even know, but they're right there. I support Zelensky. I support Ukraine. They don't know anything, but damn it, they're supporting. Why? Because the capitalist pigs had a goal, and their goal was to grab the resources out of Ukraine, and then their goal was to prevent Russian oligarchs from having those same things. And then, as if that's not bad enough, they brought it home to manufacture consent, and every person that stares at MSM said, oh, I better put a yellow and blue flag on my profile picture so I too can show that I suckle at the teat of capitalism. And so they go through this, and mind you, thinking they're doing the right thing. They think they're doing good. They really feel like they're the good liberal, following through, doing the good thing, following what Biden and them has said. So this is about the way the ball rolls. The shit flows downhill. The oligarchs have their games they're playing. They're playing oligarch. It's the oligarch Olympics. The political class runs interference, so we think we have power over that. And then what happens is it all shits down on us, and we act like we won. Oh, at least we didn't have Trump. It's hilarious. It is. It's sad.
I would say, because people have a short-term memory in this country, whether you're liberal, conservative, progressive, libertarian, agnostic. Not so long ago, we're talking 2.5 years ago, it's over 3,000 people dying a day. They were moving bodies in freezers. The morgues were running out of space. Outside my window in New York City, ambulances all day long. This is at the worst of COVID. Literally, just that we know of, millions and millions of cases of this illness. And instead of actually providing temporary UBI, temporary universal health care, just anything as kind of a something to take the edge off.
Even that's playing for a bunt single.
I mean, but I'm just, what we think they would give us. Even at that, the government for healthcare, free testing, free treatment in the hospital until it wasn't free. You won't get a bill, this and that. Oh, then it becomes expanded COBRA that we end up paying for. COBRA is the biggest healthcare scam there is. I mean, we could go down the list. Instead of UBI, mint the coin, a debit card throughout this crisis. We'll give you a $1,200 check and a $1,400 check. If you're lucky, some unemployment and a good kick in the ass out the door. Yep. This was because the capitalist pigs, i.e. the United Corporations of America, said to their employees, the president at the time, Trump, and then Biden, yeah, no, even with this, we can't open that Pandora's box of actual humanity and generosity from the government. And it continues. I mean,
absolutely.
Look at it. Look at it now.
Once people realize the government could do these things, what would stop us from demanding it, other than those gatekeepers in the duopoly saying, "Oh, but what do you want, Trump?" and distracting from it. I said beforehand, when everybody was trying to impeach Trump way back when, I said, why are you not fighting right now while you've got a fucking supermajority? Why are you not fighting right now for a Green New Deal? You say you have an existential climate crisis. We're telling you we don't have health care. We're telling you that the student debt is going to kill us, and you do nothing. Job guarantee, mobilizing people to create the kind of society we want to live in, shut down by the Democrats. When Stephanie Kelton and others went in there to negotiate in good faith, I believe they believed they were doing good, go in there to try to talk to Biden's team, and they pat him on the head and they said, yeah, we ain't doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing a job. They mocked it. And the trail, for those who don't pay attention to econ circles, sadly is so long and ridiculous. You just got to stay away from some of the people that are just jumping, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going to take down the dollar, whatever. You've got to understand how this actually works so that you can be effective at radicalizing your friends so that they know the truth, so that we have a chance to do something later, because it ain't in the voting booth, my friends. I wish it was. That's the easier, softer way, but half measures availed us nothing. Go back to 1902, all you friends and foes. Read you some Lenin and go ahead and get into what is to be done and read about the marsh. I sent a video clip of this. Colin, if you don't have it, it's okay, but I'll just quickly, if you do have it, it'd be better. But if you don't have it,
we are marching in a compact group along a precipitous and difficult path, firmly holding each other by the hand. We are surrounded on all sides by enemies, and we have to advance almost constantly under their fire. We have combined, by a freely adopted decision, for the purpose of fighting the enemy, and not of retreating into the neighboring marsh, the inhabitants of which, from the very outset, have reproached us with having separated ourselves into an exclusive group, and with having chosen the path of struggle instead of the path of conciliation. And now some among us begin to cry out, "Let us go into the marsh." And when we begin to shame them, they retort, "What backward people you are! Are you not ashamed to deny us the liberty to invite you to take a better road? Oh yes, gentlemen, you are free not only to invite us, but to go yourselves wherever you will, even into the marsh. In fact, we think that the marsh is your proper place, and we are prepared to render you every assistance to get there. Only let go of our hands, don't clutch at us, and don't besmirch the grand word freedom. For we too are free to go where we please, free to fight not only against the marsh, but also against those who are turning towards the marsh."
That's right. So when you think about this, I'm saying to you,
was she AI generated, or that was a person?
She was AI generated, baby.
Okay.
So but we took a passage from What Is to Be Done. In fact, I shouldn't say we. I don't want to take credit for this. I'll take credit for loving it, but I'm not going to take credit for creating it. Our girl Jules at Real Progressives put this together for us. And it's one of the most important things you can think of. Every time you say, hey, listen, I see it. You're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. You're going to vote for Joe Biden, and that's fine. You do your thing. But stop trying to shame us for not siding up with your electoral bullshit, okay? The fact of the matter is that you belong in the marsh. You want to go over there and lick the boot of capital, and you want to be a part of that and not rock the boat. You do you. But stop holding others back who are trying to free us of the system. Stop holding people back from trying to make change. Stop trying to diminish that because what do you want, Trump? If you're that person, don't do that. Don't be that person, right? And that's all part of the oligarch Olympics. They hope and pray. They're counting on the Stevens from Django to stop us from fighting back against capital. They're doing everything they can to obscure the fight that we really have on our hands. Oh, but that's authoritarian. You don't want to look at. Didn't Stalin kill 50 billion people or some crazy number? You know what? Let's just be real. Whenever you have a revolution of any variety, there's always a counter-revolution, whether it be violent or whether it be mental or political, as Bernie said, etc. Every step along the way, there's a counter-revolutionary force ready to fight back. And so when you decide, hey, I'm not giving up this territory that we fought for and we won, I'm not giving it up. And that right there happened really big time in the movie Oppenheimer, where Oppenheimer was trying to unionize his students. And the other professor comes in the room and says, hey, keep your politics the hell out of here. He's like, well, where are you going? Why don't you come hang out? And he's like, no, I'm going to a socialist event here. And he goes, why don't you come? He goes, no. He goes, I want to vote for integration. I don't want to have to talk about integration. So this is part of that whole, I'll just vote. Just shut up. We don't want to hear your stupid words. But the reality is that is capital at the top, trying to make you believe that there is no alternative. There is nothing more to be done. But Vladimir said, what is to be done? And I'm telling you that what is to be done is to radicalize, to understand that they could pay for all of us to have health care immediately without ever seeing a bill, without even seeing an invoice. They could do it. They could give us free college forever and make sure that we could just learn as a part of growing the body of this country. And really, instead of building a wall at the south border, Biden, we'll talk about you here in a little bit, okay? We could be taking that money, and it's not an either or, by the way. We could be assholes and build walls and give everybody free shit. Not just free shit, but not free. Don't think of it as free. Think of it as citizens' benefits. The benefits of being here, being part of it. So we built sustainable communities, etc. But no, that would defy capitalism, because capitalism needs you to be broke, desperate, willing to take whatever it'll throw your way, because they have plans and your interests are not part of them. But if you keep convincing yourself that they are, you'll continue sucking the oxygen out of the room. That's why I say fuck you to the capitalist class.
And that's why I say, what is the number 2 Grumbi of 2023?
Oh, yes. Bibi Netanyahu. Absolutely. It's a struggle bus between putting him at the top and all. But the reality is that, once again, he is part of that apparatus. He's part of that ruling elite. He's part of that group of people that literally focuses on keeping people distracted. He set the stage for Gaza. He set the stage for Hamas. He set the stage for this for a long, long time. Similar to how Clinton set the stage for Trump. Similar to how each of these groups do these things to make us feel like, to manufacture consent. And in spite of watching it on television, in spite of video after video, clip after clip, to see exactly what is going on, we allow the mainstream media and we allow these talking heads to control our thoughts. But Netanyahu is a murdering scumbag. He is the epitome of fascism. And not just right wing. He makes Ronald Reagan look like a peacenik. He is the epitome of a war criminal. And this guy, and folks, we could talk about this all day long, but you have witnessed over the course of, 2 months now? The bloodshed, Christmas Day massacre, the baby Jesus, all that good stuff. Man, they took Bethlehem and floored it. They just trashed, they literally went through and said, you know what? We're going to fucking turn this sand into glass. And they bombed the living shit out of it. I think on Christmas Day, there was some 140 babies alone that were killed, small children that were killed. Disgusting. And that was all on Netanyahu and his capitalist handlers above, who are part U.S., which is going to talk about our top spot in the list, and others around the country and around the world, quite frankly, who are part of this order, if you will, this order that manufactures consent and allows us to dehumanize and treat as animals the people of Gaza, the Palestinians. Regardless of anything that you feel, I am 100% supportive of those folks that literally lost their entire families to the Holocaust. But I am absolutely 1,000,000% against any kind of thing that would allow them to dehumanize and do the same exact thing to the people of Gaza, to the Palestinians. That that I call them Christo-fascists here. I don't know what you would call them in Israel, but I can tell you right now, it is a form of fascism, and Netanyahu is the leader of that and has been for a long, long time. I just one of the worst human beings on the entire planet. And I think when history looks back at Netanyahu, they're going to see him right alongside of Adolf Hitler and others that were brutal murderers. And I think that's a shame, but I think that's reality.
I also think you got to kind of look at the broader global patterns here. There's something wrong with us, the populace, whether it's America, Israel. I mean, name your country. When our systems, whether it's representative democracy or parliament or whatever, keep recycling these same plutocrats, imperialists over and over. Netanyahu, on and off, has been in power in Israel almost 2 decades. I think he's the longest serving prime minister in Israel. They have a different system, parliament, coalitions rather than, 2 parties. But how is it that these same people, the Bush dynasty, the Clintons, Biden and Trump, same contest back and forth, then Netanyahu somehow coming back over and over, several elections? There's something very wrong.
Like
with
herpes.
That. Yeah, and we have to wonder as the populace why we allow it. And is all of these systems of democracy really just theater if they're kind of set up in this way that these same people can keep coming back and winning?
It cracks me up when I hear them talking about Putin, the butcher, Putin to this, Putin to that. And I look and I think about all the murder that has happened on prior U.S. presidents' watches, including the current president. And I think of that when I think of the current president's spending into these other countries to facilitate by proxy the killings that go on. I'm not going to go to the end yet because that's the grand finale, but let me just say this. When I put this list together, I did not choose people. Jordan said, Steve, we got to put people in there. It's no fun to not have a person to look at, right? So we wanted to put people in there, but I put concepts as my top 5. And Netanyahu is the epitome of that ruling class, not the political class, but the ownership class. He is the epitome of the attack dog, the Rottweilers. He is the guy on the leash barking for them. He's the dog that's doing the bidding. And unfortunately, when you look back, you're going to see this tragedy unfolded in a way that the United States said, hey, here's some more money. Here's some more weapons. Make it rain, baby. When they meant make it rain, they were talking about fucking bombs of death, not make it rain and bring flowers from the earth. They're talking about murder, killing, literal. And so as I look at this, I think it's the broader implications of capitalism. It's the broader implications of inequality and the ownership class versus us thinking. It's almost impossible to believe that we're not in control, but we're not in control because we cede our control, believing in this fake idea that we can vote our way there. That's how you got, of course, that's how you got Netanyahu. And of course, that's how you got Hillary Clinton, because she was the most qualified. Oh, wait a minute, she didn't get in there. Why not? Oh, because it was Donald Trump, another part of the oligarchy, who Bill and Hill propped up to get up on there. He has been their greatest fundraising apparatus known to mankind. Putting Trump up there gets all the folks that are really buying this lie to dump their money into the process and keep everybody locked in this game, this fake world, this fraudulent world. And as you watch it, you play a part in it because your lack of ability to break free and see the system as it is causes you to suck in and cheer on. Yes, gotta get rid of Trump. It's like 2 minutes of hate from the 1984. God, I'd kill to have that clip right now. They sit there and they make everyone scream at Goldstein up there on the thing. Ah! They scream and everybody's looking. Are they angry enough? Are they angry enough? Are they showing enough proper anger at Goldstein? Goldstein, is it him? Is he the one? We're at war with East Asia. No, it's Eurasia. Which is it? How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? This is the game. And this is what you guys play into. And they do it to us. So it's not, you're a victim. You're an abused victim. We're all abused victims. And it requires somebody to drive through all the pods in the matrix and pull us out one by one. And it is painful and it takes time. And you've got to process what all those changes mean when you come to agreement that Netanyahu, why the fuck is he constantly being up there? Why do you always get a Bush or a Clinton or a fucking Biden, or you get the same exact people and the same exact dead asses in the deep state that they pull into their cabinets, that they pull into the other institutions that run our nation. Every single one of these people are the same. They just, hey, whose turn is it to be class president? I think it's Biden. All right, fuck, he 5 times. Okay, Biden gets to be class president this time. There you go, Joe. Smile on the way to the Oligarch Olympics. And you guys buy it. Jesus Christ, wake up. All right, so drum roll.
Number one.
Number one. Wait, hold on. Why am I not hearing you?
You're not hearing me? There we go.
Why am I not hearing you? I wonder why I'm not hearing you. Huh. Number one is Joe Biden. Joltin' Joe Biden is our number one guy. In reality, Joe Biden is just a symptom of it because he's the top puppeteer at the top here. Okay, but Joe Biden is empire's face. He is the face of empire right now. He is the face of not listening to we the people. Can you all hear me okay? Are you still hearing me? Somebody's saying audio. Jordan broke Steve. Okay. All right.
We hear you.
So you're sitting there watching Biden do these things. I'm telling you right now, when Biden came out at his first State of the Union address, the very first one, Joe Biden had already pivoted from Russia and was positioning China as the number one enemy of the United States. The number one problem.
And a very decent person.
And let me tell you, for 50 years during the neoliberal era, we have pushed all of our jobs out of the country to production into China and around the world. This decision has singularly been the cause of many of the bottlenecks and supply chain breaks. It's also the reason why wages have stayed stagnant. It's the reason why we have not been able to demand a higher wage. It is all of these things baked into one. And Joe Biden was the mouthpiece for that. We went the whole time through Trump hearing about Russia, Russia, Russia. And we got to see Buff Bernie because Russian cartoonists made Buff Bernie cartoons. And that's why Bernie was up there. And then they made all this stuff. Oh, Hillary, she would have won. She won the popular vote. Yeah, no shit. Guess what? In a real democracy, the Electoral College doesn't get to pick the president. In a real democracy, the people pick the president. But alas, we don't have a real democracy. Okay? So each step through this thing, you've witnessed this, folks. You've witnessed it. You may not accept it. You may not fully process it, but you've witnessed it. And Joe Biden is the living embodiment of it right now. He is the oligarch at the top with the gold medal, and he's got the Grumbi award in his hand, smiling, knowing done a good job. He's got his little choke collar looking up at his owner up here. Actually, he can't even do that anymore because he can barely speak. He can't even put together words. He's a drooling old man now. But yet you thought he would be the guy in the digital era. You thought this man in an age of high tech, this man that can barely fucking walk, this guy smelling little girls' hair, etc. You thought that guy was going to be fit to deal with the digital era, to deal with Silicon Valley, to deal with Bitcoin, and to deal with all the fraud and all the other shit. You thought this jackass was the guy to support us through an existential climate crisis. You really thought that? Did you really, really think that? No, you didn't. But you got sucked in because they made you believe. And you've had years of constant winnowing down, constant grinding you into form to believe these things. And you will watch MSNBC and like it. You will watch CNN and like it. You will watch these crazy, kooky shows and like it. And unfortunately, when somebody's telling you this, the standard playbook is, that guy's fucking nuts. And I may well be. So don't trust me. Trust your own lying eyes. Do your own research. Look back and ask yourself, if all of us want healthcare to be taken care of for us, why in the world wouldn't a duly elected government do that for us? Oh, I know. The Republicans. The Republicans, right? The Republicans. Joe Biden said right up front, guess what? I ain't fucking doing your Medicare for all. And guess what? The squad said, you know what? We're not going to make you do it either because we're not going to force a vote. Because after all, Mama Bear, every single part of this theater leads us to Joe Biden, the talking, walking prop of a president that is not doing anything but standing there, if he can, slurring his words, forgetting where he's at, having to guide it on stage because he's too dumb and fucking just freaking lost. But he's your oligarch winner. He is the top daddy. And to me, quite frankly, Biden is irrelevant in the large scheme, but he's at the top because he represents the puppets of the top of the ruling class. He represents everything that's wrong because you don't have a face for all those other folks. You don't have a face for all the power brokers behind the scenes. And if you did try to pull all those faces out, there would be so many of them, you wouldn't know what to do with them. And it would overwhelm you. So Biden gets the top slot because he's a murdering warmonger. Actually, whether he is, whether he isn't, I don't know who gives those orders because it's certainly not coming from his decrepit brain. The dude doesn't even know what oatmeal he's eating in the morning. Okay? He's not out there thinking through this tactical war. If you understand how government works, you know it's all those cabinet positions, all those people in power that are unelected, that are pulling the strings on all of this. Every bit of it. So Joe Biden is a token to beat like a piñata. But in reality, Joe Biden is a prop for oligarchy. So it is the ruling class at the top that Joe Biden represents. And that, my friends, is this year's Grumbi Awards.
I got to tell you, I have not had such an entertaining and informative experience watching an award show on all my years on this earth. Thank you for those Grumbi Awards. Next year, we might have to have some production value. We might expand the list, maybe wear a suit and tie. We'll see. Very, 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 very informative. We'll have to chop this up. Let's see what the people thought. Presents, $5. If it comes down to it, would either of you vote for RFK Jr. over Trump and Biden? No.
Nope. Another capitalist Zionist pig. Nope.
And I think, got to tell you, hate to say I told you so, but actually happy to say I told you so. God, so many of you got hoodwinked because RFK Jr., who does like war, has always liked war. He went around campaigning for Hillary Clinton multiple times, saw a little bit of an opening and said, oh, if I come off as anti-Ukraine, I could pick up a lot of voters. Mm-hmm. Give me a break. He's sitting there cheering on what's going on in Gaza right now. Are you kidding me? You think he's going to end? You think he's going to end any war? What's his plan to end the Russia-Ukraine war? Has he given you a dollar amount, how much he would try to cut the military budget and how he would survive it, meaning not get, his father and uncle? Give me a break. This guy doesn't have one policy. He does interviews and over again. And when somebody asks him for a policy, he responds, well, what would you do? Crystal Ball interviewed him, I think, for an hour, Crystal and Sagar. He kept turning it around on them. Well, what's your answer? What would you do? Oh, I'm going to have a collection. I'm going to get together a collection of economists. No, thank you. Not to mention he's a lunatic conspiracy theorist, but go ahead.
Pull up Bruce W. here, his comment. I think this is a funny one.
Bruce W.
Nobody, folks, have you listened to anything I've said today? I mean, seriously, this is the problem. You're looking at a game, a fixed game, a game where they're intentionally putting these people out there. And if you could vote your way to fix something, they wouldn't let you do it. I'm telling you, nobody. I support we the people, and I support building outside the electoral process, to build mutual aid, to build a parallel system, parallel institutions, to watch the other one collapse on its own weight. Alas, we don't have a prayer doing it the way we've been doing it, because too many of you, and I will include myself in this, unfortunately, are just comfortable enough, have just enough to lose, that you'll fight to retain that little bit of something, even though you know by doing that, you've condemned your kids to the ravages of climate crisis. You'll condemn your kids to the future that ignoring these things now does, because you have convinced yourself that it's more important to retain these little things, that you've got this little place in society you have, instead of realizing you're in a war you didn't ask for, you didn't know, but yet you are in a war. So who do I support? No one.
Personally,
right.
I'm a coin flip between Jill Stein and Cornel West. But if you ask me, I'd probably go Jill Stein, not because I don't love Cornel West, but just because I think we need to build power in an actual party at this point. So tie goes to the runner, Jill Stein. I feel I basically agree with Steve. But I also think we got to walk and chew gum at the same time. So still vote, but don't actually think your vote is going to change anything structurally. The only change that's coming structurally of this rotten system is worker power, really reinvesting in organized labor, which we'll talk about during the marathon Saturday, because we have had some major victories this year. It hasn't affected everybody, but it is helping lay the bricks for all of us. And that would be the UAW strike, the return of some form of labor militancy, the domino effect of renewed organizing and labor on other industries. So that's where it's at. So I say, hey, I'm not telling you to vote or not vote. I'm just saying I can't in good conscience cover elections anymore like I did in 2016 and 2020, when I actually thought, oh, this might be really change something. Well, you can't change a corrupt system that has basically kill switches to kill progress through elections. But maybe we can through worker power. Now, Robin Bennett, $20. Facts. Thank you, Robin. Appreciate the $20 super chat. Mike D, $1.99. Don't forget Mike DeWine and Alan Shaw. That's coming up on the Saturday end of year marathon. We will have probably a full hour on the East Palestine disaster. Lewis has been there 4 times for us this year on the ground. The rest of the media has forgotten the chemical detonation in an American town in East Palestine. They are still sick. They are still screwed. And they have basically become Flint quicker than Flint became Flint, because everyone's moved on from basically the mini Chernobyl in East Palestine, Ohio. So we'll cover that among other stories. Again, Saturday, noon Eastern, we're starting to be myself, rotating host, guest. Steve will be on there too at some point. We'll go noon to about 4 or 5. We're going to definitely try to push membership, raise the money to help us go strong into the next year. Christian, $9.99, $5. When Trump got COVID, he had a team of 7 to 8 doctors at his beck and call, and he wouldn't give Americans one through an executive order. Wake up, chumps. Right. And you heard horrifying stories of people who were supposed to get free care who are in the hospital, like Steve, for a week or two. You were in the hospital with COVID.
Very sick.
Was your bill free, Steve?
Hell to the no.
That's right.
Nope.
That's right.
I want to say one thing real quick about the Green Party. As I, back in 2016, I pivoted from Bernie to Jill, and I was gung-ho. I was really gung-ho. I mean, we had a big event on the nation's capital, Take Back Democracy March, and it was one of the biggest things we at Real Progressives and others did. Lee Camp, people that you probably know, Tim Canova was there back before he changed. You had, what's his face? Oh my God, I'm forgetting half the names. But you had a whole host of people talking. Tim Black was there, among others. And then it all tried to happen with Movement for a People's Party. But you realize in the end, building a party to play in a system that the oligarchs still own, that the parties have a absolute lock on, whether you get on the debate stage, whether you even make it on the ballot. And the people that are in power are the ones that nominated the judges that vote whether you have any rights to this or not. And so at the end of the day, the idea of thinking that you can go a third party within the current system, I'm not talking about first past the post. I don't even buy that. I'm telling you that if you believe the charade that we have of an electoral system will allow for a third party to do anything in it, I think you're missing the point of a third party. For me, a third party is the opportunity to organize people around concepts to build that dual power outside of the existing system. And then if you can't vote your way there, what did Malcolm X say? He said, what was it? The bullet or the ballot or something like that? The ballot or the bullet? I don't know, something like that. Bottom line is that if you can't vote your way there, you're going to leave people with no other choice. My hope is that you have enough power, build those systems, because right now you don't have mutual aid. You don't have dual power. You don't have anything to push back against the system. Okay. And so voting for a third party feels good, but at this moment in time, unless that third party stops just trying to be part of the get on stage and starts building power outside of the system, until it starts doing that, it doesn't really matter what happens on election day in that case. They have got to build enough power outside. Right now, the Green Party is unable to really support its own candidates even. They don't have the ability to fund a candidate. They don't have the ability to really organize for that. So to play in this duopoly, to play in this game, okay, without having that dual power entity there, it's a bit of a fool's. It's not foolish to vote third party. It's foolish to think voting third party is getting you something electorally. It's got to be used to build dual power. That's the vanguard. You've got to do something like that, or there is no prayer. We're just a bunch of fingers when we need to be a fist. I have that problem in my own organization.
Meaning that third party has to be active, not just in electoral politics, but it has to be building outside, including the labor movement, workers' rights, housing, you name it. Got it.
All that together. Yes, sir.
Brian, $1.99. Thank you, Brian. Jules of Real Progressives, $4.99. Sorry to say, but the stench of marsh is getting strong in this chat. I can't multitask, so I don't know which marshmallows.
The marsh is from the video where they talked about you want to retreat into the marsh. Yes, there's a lot of marsh dwellers for sure.
But most of our audience are living or exiting the marsh as we speak. Steve, this was delightful. Thank you as always. It's been a pleasure co-hosting with you in the year 2023. We'll be back at it next year. You do great work. Tell everyone where they can find the rest of your work.
Absolutely. I do a podcast, folks. It's long form and it's informative, and I think very highly of it, obviously, but we've got about 256 episodes of my podcast, Macro and Cheese. We release it every Saturday morning. It's audio. You don't watch it, you listen to it. And if you want to watch it, we release it usually on Tuesdays or Wednesdays on realprogressives.org as well. The next part is that coming in the new year, I will be relaunching the Rogue Scholar, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon Eastern time on our Real Progress in Action YouTube channel. Please try to, if you got Spotify, if you got iTunes, if you got any of that, find Macro and Cheese. You can even find Rogue Scholar on there. It's even done in a podcast form as well. And of course, check out our Substack, substack.com/Real Progressives.
Thank you, sir. And you'll see Steve, I think, will be able to join us for a little bit Saturday.
Yep,
so again,
absolutely.
Put it in your calendar, Saturday, end of year marathon, starting at noon Eastern. Myself, Tina will be on, Ron will be on, Lewis will be on. We'll have guests, including UAW workers, East Palestine residents, and some others. We're thank you so much for watching, everybody, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. Have a good one.